today. I'm really excited for today's show. If you like football, man, oh man, we have a lot to talk about. Beginning tonight, really, with a hell of a matchup with USC and Utah, the conference championship weekend. Then the NFL, which began last night with Buffalo beating New England. And we're going to talk about it in just a moment with Sean Salisbury. And how the hell is everybody today? I hope you're on your way to a great weekend. You know, if you look at my title page for this show, I even put a USC helmet on there with Sean Salisbury. Right. But I'm sitting here and we got the biggest game of the year for USC. And where's my USC gear? Where is it? Oh, okay. All right. I thought we'd have a hat on, a shirt.
I had it on all day. I got to go to a dinner for about 90 minutes between when we're done. And when I come back, I will get in the hooded sweatshirt, the garb, drink out of a USC glass with whiskey and a cigar. The only thing it's going to miss is the Trojan's name on the cigar. Good popcorn today. So I'm ready to roll, brother. I'm ready.
All right, let's talk about this matchup. What should fans of USC be concerned about with this matchup against Utah?
Try to make sure you don't get into a clutching, phone booth, body punching contest with Utah. That's Kyle Whittingham. That's what they do. Yet, when you think physical teams, they're one of the most physical teams in America. The Michigans, the Georgias, this team here. And you know what, Grant? What's interesting is they also have a quarterback in Cameron Rising who can make a bunch of plays. You saw the first time they played, and kind of matched them play for play. The overall explosiveness on USC's offense is better, and they're playing better even now, Grant. And so is the quarterback. Hard to believe that he's playing better than he was then when he was carrying him then. So if I'm SC, you want to tenderize them a little bit inside and outside. They ran the ball well against Notre Dame, a really good defense. I think you got to be multiple. You got to formation them to death, spread them out, play in space. And then once you hit a couple home runs, pound them and continue. Stay on the attack. This is a team, and you saw it. You've seen all year, Grant, and you've watched them plenty.
Sure.
The teams that have played against Trojans have always found a way to score a couple touchdowns and hang in there. And you cannot, even with a 3-touchdown lead, it will not be safe. Utah can score. I like USC. I like a close one. I don't need it being anxiety-ridden in the fourth quarter to a 2-point conversion. But Kyle Whittingham's one of the best coaches in the country. But what Lincoln Riley's done with that offense and the way Caleb Williams is brought in, and don't discount how getting that verbiage during his first year in Oklahoma and going with him where you didn't have to learn a system again is paying off. I like USC. I think somebody's going to be in the mid to high 30s. That'll be the winner.
I say Lincoln Riley. You say what?
Difference maker, has buy-in, has not even got started. He doesn't have the defensive personnel he wants. And I'll tell you the honest to God truth, he doesn't have all the offensive personnel he wants. Now on the perimeter outside he does. But as he starts to recruit, and Grant, they've been in this system, what? Since, when you can really work at it since the summer.
It's unbelievable.
And look what they're doing. It is.
Yep.
And if you ever wondered if a quarterback matters to a system or an offense or a team, you see Caleb Williams, but they're really good. They'll get after the passer. They can rush it, and they can turn you over on defense, meaning the Trojans. But Lincoln, right, when I say that, I'm going to be there a long time. I mean, he is special, and he hasn't even got his paws into him just yet.
Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, if you and I were talking tomorrow and we're talking about, can you believe that USC lost last night? On a scale of 1 to 10, how big of a loss would that be for this program?
I heard somebody on Twitter or on one of the social medias a couple times say, it was a USC person to say, hey, it did like an alumni friend. And he said, we're on house money. And I cringed at that because you're never on house money with this, Grant, because you and I both know getting here, everybody thinks Nebraska and Georgia, that's the norm. That ain't the norm. When I say Nebraska, I meant Alabama. Alabama, when Clemson was in their mix and now Georgia, that's not the norm. The norm is getting to one and hope you can get back and And then a few years later, by the time your class graduates, don't tell Texas A&M with their recruiting class.
Yep.
I mean, LSU, after they won with Burrow, the very next year, they struggled 2 straight years. Got back at it today, this year a little bit better. So if they lose, it'll be devastating because now some of it, well, look what we did when we weren't expected to. I don't think like that. I don't think the players, I don't think Lincoln. It'll be a major disappointment because now that you're in this position with the best player in America and probably the best play caller in America, and I don't know if that can be argued, Grant, with the way, I mean, I know Leach and Lane Kiffin and there's Steve Sarkisian, but when you think about what he's done there at Oklahoma and SC, it's hard to argue what he's done for quarterback production and offense.
It's unbelievable.
And this guy's better than the ones he's had. Caleb Williams is. So it'll be a huge disappointment, but I guess there's no shame in losing to Utah, and it will be the second time. But the truth is, I'm not even thinking about that because it'll be a bummer because you never know if you're going to get back. Your injuries, you got to stay healthy. I think when you're here, you might as well go be the team that nobody wants to play. Hell, if you're Georgia or Michigan, you don't want to play this quarterback because you can have him in your grasp and he can change a game with 2 carries and a big scramble and throw. So while they may not be the favorite in any of the games they play in the playoff, if they win tonight, I don't think you want to play that guy because when the quarterbacks go in, he'll be the best quarterback left. I can sure as hell tell you that.
All right, Sean, TCU and Kansas State. TCU probably is the one program in the country that the fans know the least about. They don't get a lot of respect. They're just having, obviously, a dream banner season. What is it about TCU that makes them as good as they appear to be?
And Grant, think about this. The 2 teams that are going in, that if they take care of their business, it'll be 2 of the 4 teams in the final. 2 coaches with their first year at that program.
Wow.
Remember, Dykes was at SMU and now TCU and Lincoln Riley. So, I mean, that's called, when you're looking for quick turnaround, shit, they made quick turnaround and impacted alumni, players, coaching staff in a hurry. Here's this game. One thing I've tried to put my finger on, like, what kind of team Kansas State is. We know who they are. Bunch of overachievers, well coached. If TCU wins, which they're favored to, and they beat them once already.
Yep.
You sure as hell are not. Kansas State's not going to lose this game by turning it over 5 times. I mean, TCU's going to have to grab. They'll hit some big plays, but you're going to come out of there bloodied and battered when you're TCU, even in a win. You just are. That's who. I mean, in a lesser term, Grant. It's like a Utah team in the Big 12. The reason I say that is they're going to be in position. They are going to grind on you. May not be as talented as the other guys. TCU's got flash and guys running up and down the field, quarterback having a Heisman year. But don't mistake that. You don't have to feel sorry for Kansas State. They can play. 10th ranked team. I'm not sure a program from Bill Snyder to now, what they're doing at Kansas State, gets more out of the people they get to recruit than Kansas State does in the SC's supposed to win. Alabama's supposed to win. Kansas State's 10th in the country. 10th in the country. So for them to win, you got to eliminate the chunk play, Grant. You can't allow TCU to hit 4 plays over 40 yards or 50 yards. Make them go the long way the entire time and then shorten the game with some power run game and mixing in some throws. And let's not forget a veteran quarterback, Adrian Martinez, right, Grant, Nebraska. He's had a good year, and he's kind of calmed the situation down. He looks like a guy who's been in the league a while. Keep an eye on that game right there. That's going to be close. SC and SC and TCU have the toughest road in these Final Four.
Do you feel that LSU has a legitimate chance to upset Georgia?
Out-of-body experience by a couple players. They can get it close. Now, when we say this, everybody think, well, Georgia's human. They're not dressing in a phone booth. No, they're not, but they're really good. And if you show up kind of going through the motions because you're feeling sorry for yourself after what happened at Texas A&M, you'll get hurt, Grant. That's how good. I mean, you'll get yourself hurt. So I would look at it if I'm LSU the same way A&M looked at you, even though A&M's season was over. Hell, you're going there, you're disrupting a team that'll be the 1 seed. You know that you can avenge a loss even though you're not going to the finals. The whole offseason, you get to say, yeah, but we beat the number 1 team in the country after getting our ass kicked. So there's a lot for both teams to lose. I think they can get it close. I just don't think that – I think they'll hang around for a minute, Grant. I just don't think from the middle of the third quarter on they're going to have enough to physically keep up. But This is the game you got to block a punt. You got to get a couple short fields and put Georgia in a bind. Yet, even if you're up 17-3, I've seen the movie before with Georgia. It'd be a tough road to hoe.
You give any chance at all to see Purdue stay on the field with Michigan?
Here's the only way. If Michigan is already thinking about what their New Year's Eve plans are and what they're doing, and we can't discount the emotion they spent last week in kicking the ass of their rival.
Yep.
It is because you're thinking everybody's told you, Purdue. Come on. They're like, oh, the other side of the division, that division's not as good as our division. And it's not, but Purdue, I can promise you, they're going to treat this like it's the national championship. But listen, Grant, the guy that got recruited by Purdue, some of them get recruited by Michigan and vice versa. There are some good players there, and there are. But you have to, a little pride, a little ego, but you're going to have to execute because McCarthy makes them a triple threat with the ability to run and throw, and they got good runners in the backfield. And Michigan's really physical too. But if you're caught up in last week and it takes you a half to get going, and it's 13-10 at halftime, and you're up 3, hell yeah, I'd be careful. Emotion's a huge thing, and especially in college football, we'll see if they can ride on it. And Purdue, like LSU, may hang around for a minute. I just don't think they can hang around in the fourth quarter.
All right, here's a question for you, Sean. What's your take on the 12 teams in the 2024 championship tournament?
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Is somebody legitimately going to look at me and say, if Tennessee was healthy with Hendon Hooker, Bryce Young, and that Alabama Nick Saban team, or C.J. Stroud and Ohio State aren't good enough to win the national championship? I can damn well tell you they are. Takes a run. So, I want to. And right now, let's see, Kansas State's 10th, 11th, and 12th. Grant, I don't remember I don't know if you have in front of you, who's number 12 after the committee?
I don't have it right in front of me.
Yeah, I was talking about it on my show 2 days ago, after the Tuesday, on Wednesday. What's today, Friday? Yeah, 2 days ago. We went through it, and in my mind, I thought, you know what? The number 12 team couldn't upset. I don't know if they can sustain 3 or 4 playoff wins.
No.
But you're right. That's the problem, is the depth that it takes every single week.
Yes.
You may steal a game.
Yeah, of course.
Constant pounding you got to play to get there if you're number 12 and you're not as deep as Michigan or Southern Cal. So I love it, and I don't want any more than 12 teams, Grant. I'm good with 12.
Yep.
I don't think 4 is enough. It served its purpose, but it's time, because Ohio State, Utah, teams like that, they'll give you all you can handle if he was in a playoff.
All right, I want to talk the NFL, but I first want to tell everyone that New Works Plumbing is a full-service plumbing solution. No matter how big or how small your plumbing problem, New Works has a fix for you. Just go to sacserviceplumbing.com or call the number on your screen. New Works Plumbing, locally owned for over 20 years. And remember, if you have an emergency in the middle of the night, no problem. They will be there with their 24/7 service. That's New Works Plumbing. Just go to sacserviceplumbing.com. All right, Sean, let's get to the NFL. It began last night. Buffalo, pretty convincing win against New England.
Yeah, they did. Grant, let me ask you before I answer that. That's 3 wins in 12 days.
Yeah.
For Buffalo. What does that tell you? What is that? I know they're tired, but does that tell you something about their team?
Yeah, well, it's also, we always talk about distractions. They went through a huge distraction. They had 6 feet of snow in Buffalo where they could barely make it to the airport, and they've got families, and they had to go and play a game in Detroit.
2 games.
Or
2 of them. Remember
right. Then they were there just a couple of days later on Thanksgiving. What does it tell me? We knew that Buffalo was good before the season began. They've had some really, I would say, disappointing losses. And I thought Josh Allen had a very bad stretch for a quarterback of his caliber before this difficult stretch. I think it started at the end of the Green Bay game. I think it was sloppy. He got sloppy the following week. There were 3 weeks where I was like, what is going on with him?
Right.
This is a team that knows they're good. This is a team that has probably as high of expectations as any team in the NFL. And what do we say, Sean? The NFL season really starts around Thanksgiving weekend. Here come the Buffalo Bills, right? The one guy that can't replace is the quarterback. We know that. That's true of most teams. What does it tell me, Sean? It tells me that you better be damn careful, and you better be real, lace them up tight and be ready to play the rest of the way when you play the Buffalo Bills. That's what it tells me.
100%, Grant. And 3 wins in 12 days after being sloppy for a few weeks tells me they got that quite frankly, may have got it out of them system, survived it, and now hit the ground running when the freight train starts to gather steam. And I can tell you this, I know Miami, they got a tough game against San Francisco, Kansas City, and Cincinnati. I'm thinking number 1 seed, right, Grant? I can tell you where you don't want to go in January.
Oh, boy.
You don't want to go to Buffalo.
No.
I mean, no offense to Kansas City, but you'd rather go to Kansas City or Cincinnati. You do not want to play there with those guys feeling it. And the McDermott, Ken Dorsey, Leslie Frazier combination, pretty damn good threesome as a coaching staff as far as coordinators and head coach. And they got something to prove because we want to see how they are in big games again. And they do. Because Buffalo's been that best team not to win one, right, Grant?
Yeah, and I think not having Von Miller on the field is definitely going to have an impact at some point down the road. That's the other aspect. He is a difference maker on the field, particularly in big games. And so I that does concern me if I'm a Bills fan.
Von Miller, the Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White, we've already talked about.
Yep.
Poyer is so physical. He's up and down because he's relentless with his body and have blatant disregard for it. And that front seven is so important, Grant, because right now I think that if you get a good quarterback, and we've seen good ones, and you're not hitting him with some injuries, you may be able to run some big plays through that secondary with some of the receivers that we have in the league, right? So I'm anxious, but I was impressed because it would have been easy to slog around 3 games in 12 days, 2 of them not playing, and all that. And to be able to do that and gut it out, this may be the kickstart Buffalo needed to get back where we thought they'd be at the beginning of the year.
All right, let's talk about the biggest game, I think, on the card this week. I mean, you have a great defense against a great offense in Santa Clara, San Francisco, Miami. And looking ahead, Miami starts now their brutal stretch. San Francisco this week, at the Chargers, all right, then at Buffalo. All right, how about that for a 3-game stretch? But let's talk about this game.
And you can't look forward, Grant. That's one thing about it. The schedule's so brutal. You sure as shit don't want to look forward. It's too hard. So that's a good thing for Miami to stay focused right here.
All right, to me, it's all about the pass rush of San Francisco and how much they can disrupt to it. That, to me, is the game. If I'm looking at this from Miami's perspective, are they going to be able to have a clean game, keep Tua upright? He's mobile. Is he going to be able to do what he wants to do, getting the ball down the field with that San Francisco front seven?
Grant, we're on the different angle, exact same thought process. We're in the same church pew. Last week, and I know it was the Texans, but Mike McDaniel came out and threw 30-plus times in the first half. 30-plus times. Now, that's the Texans. If you throw 30-plus times in the first half, that tells me 2 things. One is San Francisco missed a team bus with their front seven, or you're concerned that your run game can't do squat, which could have a long-term effect. Now, they've got Jeff Wilson over there. They're running it a little bit better. But we know this. If the Dolphins win this game,
oh boy,
Tua will have played his ass off, and they will have made some plays in space. And so, along with you about keeping Tua upright, couldn't agree more. Because the 49ers look at it, Grant. You got a high-powered number 1 offense with the quarterback who's number 1 in so many different pressure stats, and then you're in Tua, and what Mike McDaniel's done has been brilliant. And then the 49ers, DeMeco Ryans' defense is filthy, and all those great weapons on offense, depending on McCaffrey's health for the 49ers. You're exactly right. And part of that pass rush, Grant, I think the biggest emphasis for me is how do the perimeter coverage guys, the corners, nickel corners, slot corners, take Tyreek Hill and Waddle off their mark, because this is a rhythm. 1, 2, 3, get it out. Catch and throw the slant. Take 3 and a hitch and throw it. To make 2 a hitch 2 or 3 times, and you know how you do that? Pressure on those receivers so they can't get off their cleanly, and you take them off their mark where they got to reset themselves and get there. That's 1 extra hitch. That's 1 extra pass rush. That's 1 extra tip ball, and that's 1 extra turnover on the short field, or at least a flip the field punt. You're right. So the pass rush, and what will it be, the chicken or the egg? Pass rush helping the secondary, or is the secondary going to be good enough on the edge? If they play man more than normal or give you a lot of man looks and take that chance, are you going to be able to get to the quarterback before Tua can set his feet and deliver the football?
I'll tell you this, if the Miami Dolphins go in and win in Santa Clara against that team, you know what the narrative is going to be right after the game. The Dolphins have as good a chance as anybody to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. This is a signature statement game for a team that is ascending in the Miami Dolphins.
And if the 49ers win, everybody's going to say Philadelphia, you may not be the best team in the NFC, even though your
You're right.
record says so. That's what they're going to say. And Grant, back to Miami. Hell, I think right now Miami. If 4 of these 6 teams are not in the Final Four, I'll be shocked. Dallas, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Buffalo, Kansas City, Miami, with a possible Cincinnati. If 4 of those 6 teams aren't hanging around in the Final Four,
Yep.
I'll be surprised. Now that's a Captain Obvious statement, I guess. And maybe Vikings fans think it's different, and I understand why. But Grant, it will tell you a lot if Miami can go in there and win this, and they're going to have to play a really good game. And Mike McDaniel, Shanahan, they know each other as well as the doggone families know each other, right? And you got brilliant guys. And I'm going to tell you, I know Kyle's been doing it longer. Mike McDaniel is one of the more brilliant play callers and designers of plays we have in this league. And he's part of the brains behind what the run game did in San Francisco before he left. Tribute to Kyle Shanahan with all these guys that are going on and getting gigs. Saleh, D'Amico Ryans eventually at some point, the Mike LaFleur in New York. And now you got what's going on with Mike McDaniel. This is going to be this is must watch. Even if you don't like either team, you got to watch this game. Irresistible force versus immovable object. If you hit Tua, look out. If you leave him throwing on time, he's accurate enough to take the 49ers down. And Garoppolo's the key that's hidden that we're not going to talk about. But 49ers offense is going to have to show up just like the Dolphins defense is going to have to show up. Which weakness, if you call it that, is the better weakness?
Sean, you're in Houston. What's the tone in that city right now with Deshaun Watson coming in to play his first game this season and really in a couple of seasons against his former team?
Grant, you would think that it'd be buzzing loud for 5 different reasons. Hate Watson because of the off-the-field stuff. Hate Watson because he wanted out of Houston. Hate the Texans and the front office, so you want Watson to destroy them. The group that thinks that they were stupid to get rid of Watson even though he wanted out. I'm talking about not even with all the stuff that went on off the field that he wanted out. And then there's the group of diehard Texans fans that hope they got a chance to win. Well, if both play their best, the Cleveland Browns are going to win. But Grant, you be on my show. If I brought up Jose Abreu, they want to talk about Jose Abreu at first base more than they do about this. And you know why there's not as much buzz, considering all the sidebars of this game? Is Deshaun going to be rusty? Trust me, Deshaun Watson will get into a rhythm at some point in this game and play good football. For me, there'd be a much bigger buzz. And it's not about the Watson thing. You know what it is, Grant? It's that the Texans are horrible. Mm-hmm. It's unwatchable football. So that it's not even with all that Watson, if they were 6-5, you'd send your number 2 team here because of what it would mean ratings wise and the elephant in the room and can the Texans. But at 1-9-1 and getting worse, the only thing to watch is how Watson, can he compartmentalize all the off the field stuff and go play good football after 700 days? But the minimal buzz this week about, now maybe more on Sunday, but minimal buzz on local radio and on my show about Deshaun Watson. And even if you tried to shove it down their throat, wasn't a big conversation.
Something else about a conversation, and I did my entire podcast on this today in the Jerry Jones witch hunt. I know Houston's not Dallas, but it's Texas, and the Cowboys are huge all over Texas. And I was just wondering if there would be talk on a station such as yours, a morning show in Houston about this.
Yeah, we brought it up. And it's one of those things. You can't run away from these things.
Right.
You got to address it. My number one go-to is talk to people 65 years old or whatever it is, how old the picture is.
65
I don't
years.
know what, 65. I don't know what Jerry's thought was then. I don't know what was going through a 14-year-old mind then. I know people can change. If he was raised in an environment where the DNA said, yeah, you're racist, or if he was just a 14-year-old kid that had no clue what was going on, even though at that age they probably did, because the picture's a bummer, because it's not even just Jerry Jones. It's like, are we really? I mean, you think back to just 50 years ago, we're in a position where these guys, African Americans, can't walk into the same damn school. That's the hard part about it all. Now with Jerry, he's a celebrity, he's an owner. I would think that Dak Prescott, Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, Darren Woodson, if you want to know, even if Jerry comes out and says to Jay Williams, who said, I demand Jerry denounce racism. So if Jerry denounces it, I don't know if Jerry is or isn't. I've never sat in a room or played for him. But as a guy who employs a lot of football players, guys who've sworn by Jerry, I don't know. If Jerry just comes out and says, listen.
I've never heard a former player of of
Call him
color
racist.
come out and say anything negative about Jerry
Right.
Jones and racism?
I haven't either. And so, listen, I understand the picture. I understand people's concern. Now, some maybe it's rage that's overboard, and some may be deeply hurt, and I get it. But I don't get it like an African American is, because I got to walk into schools without anybody bothering me, right?
Exactly.
So I don't profess to know. But I also think from a distance, to just label Jerry Jones in the back of a picture racist from 65 years ago, I think any 14-year-old can get caught in the wrong situation. Now, if Jerry just says, listen, you guys, this is absurd. You go talk to my former players and people that have worked next to me.
Right.
Go get people who've been around. I think character, and Dak said it. He said, you can overcome these things, but talk to Jerry and he'll have to answer it. But I don't know the answer, Grant, but I do know this, that I think we are so quick to judge somebody from a distance when we know nothing about the situation. And I'm not going to profess to know what African Americans go through when they see that, but I also know you can't label somebody racist every time your perception is something. And Jerry doesn't owe it to the world to apologize if he did nothing wrong, but maybe he feels he does. And Jerry Jones will have to address it at some point, Grant. I would imagine his former players or current players will as well.
I'm still amazed that here we are in December, and on your show, if you talk anything Astros, that's like the top topic. That's just as amazing to me.
It's not even close. Right now, it's talking, is Verlander coming back?
Right.
Is Wilson Contreras? And you've got college football, NFL football. People love to talk football and the bowl matchups in the Final Four. But if I said we're going to focus on, do you keep Michael Brantley, and is Wilson Contreras going to be, and would you pay the 3 years, 130 for Justin Verlander? That'll quadruple. I mean, it won't even. We'll spend 3.5 hours not talking about anything to do with the Texans. This is an Astros town and a football state, and until the Texans are somewhat competitive, it won't matter.
Unbelievable. Hey, yep. I know you have an event to get to for a little bit before the USC game. Good luck to you Trojans tonight. Enjoy the weekend, buddy.
I love you, my man, and it's great to talk to you. Keep that fight on going. And grab some popcorn, brother. Here we go. Right on. Thanks, bud. Appreciate it.
Take care. That's Sean Salisbury. Good stuff right there. Hey, I want to welcome our newest sponsor here on YouTube Live, Fosters and Paws. They are a group of passionate animal advocates that work hard to save lives, and they primarily focus on those vulnerable dogs in shelters. They are looking for adopters, donors, and fosters. To learn more, just go to their website that you see on your screen, fostersandpaws.org. Adopt. Again, Fosters and Paws. Really glad that they are with me here on If You Don't Like That. They also believe that teaching children at a young age how to treat animals with respect will have lifelong benefits. So they do a lot of different things. The bottom line is they hope that everyone that wants an animal can have one in their life. Again, the website, fosterandpaws.org. Adopt, and welcome them to If You Don't Like That. Also, we welcome Ryan in Sacktown. Getting ready for a big weekend. How are you, buddy?
Doing great. How you doing, Grant?
I'm doing good. The Kings traveling to LA as we speak, getting ready for the Clippers tomorrow. And the question with the Clippers is who's in, who's out? I don't even know who the hell is playing. They got a lot of injuries.
Yeah, they do. Everybody, notable players, day-to-day, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. Obviously, those are the powerhouses for the Clippers, so we'll see how they come out. Kawhi's been getting rested a lot with that ankle, and that's going to make a huge difference in how this game comes out.
7 of 8 on the road for the Kings with the stretch that begins tomorrow. They come home the next night and play Chicago, and then they go on a 6-game trip. So here we are. This is a period of the schedule where the Kings have not had injuries, by the way. We keep on talking about the health of this team. And I think this is one of the mountaintops on the schedule. This is where you're going to climb up the mountain. And if you only go 3-5 in these 8, you're 500. So the Kings have put themselves in a good position, Ryan, right here. I think they're going to go more than 3-5, but they're in a good position right now.
Yeah, Grant, the proof is going to be in the pudding. They got a little taste of this type of road trip with the Boston, Atlanta, Memphis road trip, but this is going to be their biggest test of the season thus far. I do think that they can do better than 3-5, but they're going to be playing some elite teams and some elite players in the league.
Yeah, well, I mean, they come home and take on a Bulls team that plays tonight against Golden State. So the Bulls will be waiting for Sacramento while the Kings are playing LA. You got a road trip that starts in Milwaukee with the Greek Freak and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Again, I keep on looking at the health of the teams that the Kings are playing, such as the Clippers. So this is what sticks out to me, Ryan. With all the injuries and all the games missed by Clippers players, they're 13-10. Sacramento is 11-9, and they haven't had one injury. Okay, really. So what's going to happen, Ryan, when the Kings have some injuries? And if the names are not Sabonis and Fox, they're probably going to be fine. Because the one thing about the Kings right now, Ryan, they have a tremendous bench and they're deep. But I still am very skeptical of how they would be able to play for a period of time without Sabonis or Fox.
Yeah, Grant, great point. Without Sabonis or Fox, it would be a difficult road. At this point, with the depth at guard that we see coming off the bench with the Kings, I think Fox would be the lesser of the two evils to lose. Losing Sabonis, I don't see another guy on the roster that can do what Sabonis does. And to your point about the Clippers, the reason the Clippers have the record they do is they're fourth in the NBA in defensive rating. And that's exactly what the Kings wanted to be. Except, we're more of an offensive team right now. So that's how the Clippers have maintained their level of play, missing those big name players.
All right. I have to ask you, because it is such a big weekend. I know you're a Seahawks fan. Miami, San Francisco, who are you picking?
I'm going Miami.
Really?
I think they're red hot. I don't see, I know that San Francisco's defense is excellent, probably the best in the league, but Tua is playing excellent football right now. He's durable. He's got his tools with Tyreek Hill. I think this is going to be Miami's really, really big coming out show because they were a quiet 5-0 for people that don't pay attention nationally.
All right. So the NFL season, if you're around on Thanksgiving, you're in, meaning you have a legitimate chance. Will you be watching the Seahawks in the postseason this year?
No, we will not. The Seahawks will not make the postseason. Geno Smith has kind of come down a little bit to what we expected coming into the season. So I would be very surprised. And even if we do make the playoffs, I don't think we're going anywhere. And on that note, Mr. Napier, I flip it to you. Are your Giants going to be playing in the postseason?
If they beat Washington at home on Sunday, yes. If they lose to Washington at home on Sunday, no. Okay, there you go. This game coming up, I believe the team that wins this game will be a wild card team. So this to me is almost like a playoff game. The Giants have to go to Minnesota still. They have to play out Washington. They have 2 games against Philadelphia. They have the Colts at home, and they should be able to, win that game. But I don't think the Giants will be a playoff team if they lose this week. As a matter of fact, if the Giants lose at home Sunday, I don't know if they win another game this year. That's how big of a game I think this is for them.
Well, go Big Blue. It is a big game, and they're missing players again, but at least it's at home. They're only 1.5 or 1.5 underdogs, I believe, at home. So, yeah, Commanders are playing good football, but nothing like Giants Stadium on a Sunday. I'm not going to lie to you. It's fun watching those games.
Going to be good.
Absolutely.
All right, buddy. Listen, you have a fabulous weekend. I look forward to chatting with you. By the way, for everyone on the stream right now, both tomorrow and Sunday after the Kings games, I'll be right here on YouTube doing post-game shows. So I'm looking forward to that. All right,
Sounds
buddy.
Good.
Thanks.
All right, Grant.
Take care.
You too.
All right, good stuff right there from Ryan and Sacktown. You can also join me every day, Monday through Friday on Listen App. That comes your way at 4 o'clock Pacific. I'll stay on a couple of more moments if you want to hit me up with some more messages, but I've got to get ready for that live show. I still think that Niners game against Miami, that is just going to be a dandy. It really is. That is going to be one heck of a game. Tennessee, Philly should be a good game. We pointed out some of them with Sean. I think Giants, Washington's a good game, but nothing is better than what we're going to see, I think, the matchup with San Francisco and Miami. And as crazy as this may sound, that could be a Super Bowl preview. All right. Raiders are not going to go undefeated. All right. So I know you're a fan and you need to be optimistic, but the chances of that are extremely remote. And they got the Chargers coming up this week. So that's going to be one heck of a game. Somebody wants to know what's up with Saquon only getting 11 carries last week. What's up with the Giants and Saquon is their entire offense has been depleted with injuries, and their offensive line was just completely shot against the Cowboys. They are getting their right tackle back, their rookie out of Alabama, Evan Neal. So he is back this week, but they just have injuries after injuries after injuries. They're extremely sparse at receiver. They're down to backup tight ends. They just did not have the ability to run the ball with the way their offensive line was. So I point to that. We'll see what happens on Sunday. All right. I hope everybody out there has a fabulous weekend. I love when you are joining me here on the stream. And don't forget, I'll be back this weekend after both the Kings games. Take care. Enjoy all the football this weekend and your basketball, World Cup, USA, Netherlands. Enjoy all of that. We'll talk to you very soon right here on YouTube.